So the next thing I could do is put a plug wire in the distributor and then see if it's got fire and see if it will fire my timing light. I got a box of plug wires that I bought for this car over here. I got some old plug wires and some new plug wires. These weren't cheap either. Super stock wire. Let's see what color we bought. I wanted to buy yellow, but I might have bought red. I don't remember. They may not. Oh, yep, they had yellow. Okay. So here's yellow wire. Oh, and it's got the ends on it. That's lovely. So, I should be able to take a piece of this wire and let's just get over here. Oh, that's lovely right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all I need is one, and it should be the longest one if I'm going to use the wire that I put on there. You know, not just put it on there to test, but put it on there to leave it on. So let's take and hold them like this. And then we'll pick the longest for safekeeping. Another thing I could do, well, I'm going to use my timing light. I might use 63 inch Alice timing light since he left it with me. And, oh, never mind. Mine's only about 100 years old. So this here should go. The one I think is going to be this one here. And I think I can go ahead and tighten up these screws. I put these screws in here the other day. And I had this thing off and I was fixing it. And they sit down over the coil. This one back here grounds the coil. Y'all may remember I fixed this with JB Weld because I had dropped it and cracked it. Now what I'm going to want to see is some spark going through this wire. What I may do before I go down and get the timing light is just to put a spark plug in the end of that and stick it, lay it on top of that carburetor so that it's grounded to the motor. And then see if we got spark jumping. So let me grab a wire plug. These are not very cheap MGK spark plugs, but I didn't want to be cutting corners on spark plugs if I'm spending the money I spent to get this motor to get it going. So we'll just stick a plug in this, and there's no fire, there's no gas in this motor, so there's no danger of fire. So I should be able to just stick that spark plug right in that. And I'm just going to lay this on top of the carburetor so that it should have ground. We'll spin that over again and see if we got any spark. Oh, you know we don't have spark because I haven't run the wire. I've got a wire in here that needs to be run for spark. It needs to be, I believe I decided it needs to be this front wire right here. So let's take a look at that. That takes the wires from down here up to the coil. This red wire is plugged into the pin that's the closest here. There's another one over here that would go to your tachometer. This red wire goes to a hot wire. You can see that's a hot wire. So now, hopefully when I spin this over, this spark plug should spark. I'll set you up here close. You can watch the spark plug with me. Y'all see that? Can y'all see that sparking? I'm gonna look through the lens and see if I can see it. Yeah, I think I can see that. So, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that we have fire. When I say fire, we have electrical fire going to the spark plugs. And I have set this plug right here as my #1 plug. Now from this plug here, you go around and there's a firing order stamped onto the intake manifold. Now it may be polished off on this one so that you can't read it, but it doesn't matter. I can look it up online. See, that's where it used to be. Fire. It says firing order right there. Someone may have polished that off. On this stock manifold, you might can see it a little better. It's going to be somewhere on there because it's such an unsmooth surface. It could be down in there somewhere. Bottom line is, from there I can wire all the plugs. So I know now that I have fire and I have those plugs are firing. What I can do is go get 63 Impalas or my timing light. I can attach it to that wire and then we can spin it around and we can watch to see if this is firing when this white line right here comes up to right there. And if it is, we can literally set the timing by that light. And then the only thing of concern after that is whether or not, anytime you do that, you're either going to be at the right place or you're going to be 180 degrees off. Now you may remember when I set this up with the plug up here and the light right there, I made sure both of these rocker arms were loose, meaning that the cam lobes should be, so you hook hot wire to the hot wire plus and the black wire to the black wire. In this case, I put this little wire, which is the one that goes to the distributor over there. And when I kick this over, that light right here should flash. And they've made this one where you can hang it over so that you'll see. That's the place you want to see right there. Now this one does have a button here. You may have to be holding that button down when you turn it over. Can't say for sure because I've never used his light. I know on mine you do have to be pulling the trigger. Let's see what we have to do to get some light flashing there. Oh yeah, we got light flashing. We don't have to hold anything down. So, with that, my switch is back there, but I think I can reach it. So, and I think you can see this white line. I want it to flash, and I actually wired this so it would be sitting like this. But I might can bend that a little more. Yeah, I can bend that a little more. So I want that white line to flash right there. So I'm going to try to stay up this way enough to see that while I'm reaching back here and turning this. Now what it's doing right now is it's flashing right about there. It needs to be this way, so I'm going to turn this clockwise, but basically retard the timing. Now let's try it. Oh, went the wrong way. Let's go the other way. So I'm going to go counterclockwise a little bit. See, that was too far. Let's go back a little. It's actually tiny little adjustments. So I am going back a little more. That is almost perfect. Now what I'm doing is turning this distributor right here, just literally turning this way and that. The way it's sitting right now, this wire is set on top dead center, and it is literally on top dead center. Now when you're running the car, well, there's a few things that happen. One is you get a vacuum advance, and if you remember, me and 63 Impala was playing with the vacuum advance on his car while he was here, and that takes place inside of here. You also, at least on the old cars with points, had a centrifugal advance, which would advance your timing when the engine sped up. On this car, this is electronic, and probably all that centrifugal advance stuff happens electronically, even though the vacuum advance still works. So the reality is, when you're timing your car, you unplug the vacuum advance and you block that off, and then usually you'll set your timing at something like 4 degrees before top dead center, and 4 degrees is literally right where my fingernail is. You can't see that. 4 degrees right where my fingernail is, and top dead center is right here. So they're within, you know, a little, maybe about 3/8 of an inch of each other. So that's pretty darn close. So I think right there, I'll spin it one more time. We'll look at it together. I think that's right on top dead center. Yep, I'd say that is. So we know a few things. We know the distributor is timed almost about as correctly as we can make it be without having everything in place. We know the spark plug is firing. So we know that the distributor, coil, and all that fun stuff is generating fire and firing the spark plug. Now all we need to do is put all the plugs in, put all the plug wires in the correct location. In other words, each plug wire for each cylinder needs to go to the right place on this thing. See, this is going to be a different cylinder, and this is going to be a different cylinder, and this is going to be a different cylinder. And when this thing is running, they're firing like pop, 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 and each one of those is going to a different cylinder. That cylinder is firing in relation to where the piston is. So as your piston comes up and down, you want the cylinder to fire when the piston comes up with a compression stroke and with gas in that. You want it to fire when it gets to top dead center. That shoves that piston down, pushes the gas out, but when that piston goes down, another piston comes up, and then you want it to fire on that piston. That's a lot. If you think about it, it's fairly complicated. But it's been working now for hundreds of years, and someday we're going to all have electric cars, and none of this will be information that anybody will need, but I'm telling you now so you'll have it. So when that day comes, you'll have it. How about that? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect his timing light. Actually, I shouldn't even need it. So I can take it completely off and take it away, take it off the motor. I'm going to hook the battery charger to the battery I have sitting over there that's been spinning this engine over, just so we get a good bit of fire from that. We don't want to overcharge it, but we want it to be charged enough. And what else? Well, I guess the next thing would be to put the plugs in it and then put the wires on the plugs. I'm going to set this timing light up here. I don't think I'm going to need it again, but I might. So I could also be putting away my tools. Now I'm pretty sure, according to my online sources, that my carburetor isn't going to get here until at least Friday. So I won't be able to crank this until then. I could drop a drop or two of gas in there and just see if it goes blah, you know, just to see if it hits off. But I think I'll hold off on that. I think, for now. Okay, let's stop this and go in and see where we're at with everything else that's going on in my life. Love y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you see Waylon Wire out there somewhere, just tell him I said thanks for the timing light. Okay? Okay. Yeehaw!